Try to be presentable.
No problem on your end, man. Hey, Jonathan, how you doing?
I am good, Carey. It's good to see you.
Yeah, likewise. So I'm doing these videos now. I'm talking to everybody that's had a cat base for a bit and talking about what how it's worked for them. And you had one for quite a while.
Yeah.
I think we're going to call this little series of videos I'm doing herding cats. So just so you can have some fun designing some things with that for that. So
Musicians for stuff. That's basically the same.
yeah. So yeah, man. I mean, you followed this whole process from the beginning, and you have one for a while now. You did a video with it, and a couple of different videos with it here and there. And you actually did the presentation to Premier Guitar.
Right.
So full disclosure, we're like total buds, and we hang out and do things. So this is not going to be an unbiased situation. But that said, I mean, you're famous for your Bass Player Magazine days of being very analytical and honest about how you feel about stuff, and
So,
you get pretty deep into things, and so I think your perspective is still, even though we're pals, I think it's still totally valid, and that's why I wanted to talk to you for this series. So yeah, I mean, what kind of, I don't know where you want to start, at the beginning, or do you want to start now and work backwards, or
I don't have a preference. I mean, yeah. I mean, all I can say is I think I have maybe not a unique, but one of a handful of people that had a window into your plan to do this from a pretty early stage. I remember when you were first. I remember you sending me a drawing you had made of an idea you had for a body design, and just like those early phases,
yeah.
and getting to play some of the first prototypes that you made there in the U.S. So I can just say that it's been cool to be a fly on the wall through that process, because surprisingly, I mean, being on the, especially with the magazine and subsequently, like, I often see stuff at the end of that process, but I don't really get a window into that. And I might, have an opportunity to talk to a luthier or an engineer about it, but I don't really get to like be a part of that. So it was cool for a change to kind of watch how an idea gestates and evolves and turns into, a great instrument. So
Yeah, right on. Yeah, I was pretty transparent when I was designing this thing too. I was sharing a bunch of stuff on social media, and I can remember people going, "Ah, man, what's up with that headstock?" And I was like, hang in there. Wait till you see where this is going. I mean, there are definitely plenty of people who still hate it, but they kind of don't get it. So,
point of pride.
which is fine. But anyway, yeah, it was a fun process to go through that kind of publicly, and just see how people went through it. But anyway, keep going.
Well, no, I was just gonna say, it's been cool to see it. I guess in the sense that I did get to watch that evolution. I felt some stake in it. I mean, not literally, not in any financial sense, but but yes, being your friend and also kind of really digging it. It's been cool to watch it, spread its wings and go out into the community and have so many people, with all the great reception it's gotten and positive feedback I know you've had. I feel some weird pride in that, even though I had nothing to do with it, except maybe early on, like talking to you a bit about some of the things. But
Yeah.
no, it's just a very cool instrument. I play it all the time. We can talk about that.
Well, yeah, let's talk about, like, when you got that one. That was one of the first samples that we had, and I kind of wanted you to, as a beta tester kind of a thing, right? So can you walk through the process of kind of getting to know it after you first received it, and sort of the discovery phase of what it was capable of and could do?
Yeah,
How that went for you?
yeah, for sure. I mean, I think, I can't claim to have like a formal process I go through, but I do feel like, after so many years of receiving instruments and needing to come to some kind of perspective on them quickly, I'm pretty good at that initial first impression part, and the first impression was great. I mean, again, I had already played one, but I think This may have been one of the first of the import.
Yeah, it was. It was one of the first three samples that they
Yeah,
sent
I
us.
don't think I
Yep.
had played when I got this. I'm not sure I had played one of the ones you had made overseas. So it was it was it was just a it was cool to observe how close they were to what I had played, which were the ones that you hand built yourself in the U.S. I mean, it was, again, I had a little window into that process and the amount of like QC you had to do in the back and forth and making sure they got things to a place that you were happy with. So it
Right.
was cool to just kind of see the result. It doesn't seem to lose anything for its origin.
Right.
So that's cool. And then it's one of those instruments. It's super inviting when you pick it up, just because of its size. Like it feels, it's really light. It's because it's short scale. It's inviting. Like you want to just grab it. So it gave me that impression first. So really good first impression as far as the build and just the sort of inviting, kind of charming qualities. And then plugging in, I remember I just plugged it into something, here in my studio, pretty clean and flat, and just went, through all the different settings. I think I knew going into it that I was gonna do a video, for you and maybe for Premiere. So I was kind of took a more like maybe a systematic kind of, okay, I'm gonna go through every sound and every possible permutation and kind of make observations about that.
Yeah.
But so I did do that, and I would say going through it, the overarching conclusion I had is that there wasn't, and this sound, this is not, I'm not blowing smoke, but there's really not a unusable sound in this instrument. Like
Right.
there's not a sound you're like, okay, well, I'm never obviously going to do that. I mean, and there's a lot of basses that's true. You know, for example, a lot of active basses, there's settings of like the EQ, maybe diming the bass control or diming the treble. Like you said, I don't ever want my bass to sound that way.
Right.
This everything this bass does is usable, but more importantly, it's not something that I have like much duplicates of, and I have a lot of basses. What was weird about this, and I even have some short scale basses, and it was like a bunch of very foundational, usable musical sounds that are also sort of unique. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like these like old friends. It's like when you meet someone, it's like, I feel like I've known you a million years, but I didn't. That's kind of how it felt. It's like I've never heard these exact sounds, but they immediately sound like these traditional fundamental tones that would like just
Right.
records. So that was what was really cool about it, was realizing
Yeah.
this has a bunch of usable sounds, and I don't really have those sounds in any of my other instruments.
Right.
That was my first experience of it. And then
That's
since,
cool.
I played it on a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, like so I remember you sent me a mix of was it a McCartney tune that you covered? You did
Oh,
a
Lennon tune. Yeah, John Lennon.
Lennon. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was fun to hear that. You can go see that on YouTube if you want to go check it out.
Oh, yeah, that's I did this cover of Watching the Wheels, kind of mid-pandemic.
Yeah.
Sitting here watching the wheels go around and around, and yeah,
Right.
early days with this, and I think the first real tracking I did with it.
Yeah.
And it's fat in a way that you kind of expect of a short scale, but a lot of the short scales that I have, they're fat and round, but that's kind of it. They don't have a lot of texture and overtones in the mid range and the kind of character.
Mm-hmm.
That bottom, because there aren't a lot of overtones, but this has that bottom. But then it adds like there's personality in it. As you move into the mid range. And I discovered that there. I discovered settings I dig.
So like, what's your favorite setting? Like, if you just sit down and plug it in, and you don't have any intent in terms of musical application,
Right.
but you're just gonna noodle. Like, what do you?
Two favorite. I would say I have two. I like the neck pickup soloed, and either the tone flat or maybe the first position high roll off.
Mm-hmm.
It gives it that barky, woody kind of that, I don't know. It's in the like zip code of a jazz bass neck pickup, but it's something else entirely.
Yeah.
And I just I've come to really love that sound as I've gotten older. So that, and then the all buttons in sound,
Right.
which is massive sounding, right? It's quite a bit higher output than the equivalent parallel blended sound. Just everything just suddenly goes wider and bigger.
Right. Yep.
It's so wide and big. It's you kind of need to be careful about where you use it, and make note of that, how your gain increases. But if I just want like pure bass sort of track filling fundamental, that's like the setting.
Right. Have you played around with the mid notch at all?
I have a bit, not as I want to more.
Yeah.
I found that with a pick, that's actually can be a cool place for some stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, because sometimes when that all in button setting is sort of too big, if you hit the mid notch, it makes an interesting thing, at least in my experience. And I not a lot of people have really explored the mid notch that much. So and I don't like to call it a mid scoop. I like to call it a mid notch, because mid scoop implies you're going to be able to slap, right, which it's kind of takes a little. It doesn't quite work right for that. So I like to call it a notch, but yeah, I kind of want to encourage people to check that out too, as we do some of these. So, but I
haven't done as much as I want to, and I will, is experiment with different strings. Like these are still what we're on it. I think, are these Dunlops?
I think they probably are. The strings that come from the factory are Diodario, so if they're multicolored, then they're Diodario.
I think they're Dunlops.
I think we changed a bunch of them to Dunlops for the show.
These were great.
Yeah.
But I haven't tried flats. I mean, flats are an obvious thing to throw on this bass for certain.
Man, that's one of the funny things with this bass is I hear a lot from guys who got their first one. I need another one, because I got to have one with rounds and one with flats.
I know.
And I'm like, I swear to God, I didn't design this thing so that you'd need to have two of them. I'm honestly, that was not the intent, but I'll take it. I mean, that's a great idea.
I mean, it's affordable enough where it could cost twice as much and you wouldn't like feel like you were getting ripped off. So having two is easy.
Yeah. And the cool thing too is I'm getting a lot of data about what kind of flat wounds people like. We've been putting GHS and Dunlops on them, but people have been using a bunch of different strings. We'll have to put a list together for folks to check out at some point.
I got a set of I've been digging a Labella low tension flats.
Yeah, who was it that told me they tried those and loved them? So somebody told me that. But the trick though is it's such an odd, it's not a real easy length, and a lot of times the silk goes too far, and even the Diodarios from the factory, like the wines end like right at the nut. So the Dunlops are more sized appropriately, which was not an easy.
Wait, you got a long scale set?
No, those are short scale. Yeah, those are custom for us. Yeah. So, but I'm pretty sure we have the string length information on the website, so you can check to see if they fit or not. But it's a bit of an issue sometimes because it's an odd length. But
I've been getting into some tape wounds. I got these. I was doing a thing with Bubby Lewis.
Oh yeah. What do they call those?
I don't know what they're called. They're like white nylon tape wounds.
They're like dragon tape, or I don't know, something crazy.
But like the silk goes under the clear nylon wrap.
Wow.
And I actually think these are short scale.
Those are pretty blingy.
I know. I have them. I think they go to like an F anyway. So who knows what I'll do with those? But maybe I'll try these. I don't know. I love messing around with stuff.
Yeah. I kind of don't. I'm just like, put some strings on it that are middle of the road and I'm good, but
bored and locked down.
Yeah, I'd rather just plug in and play than putz around. But I mean, there's a lot of different sounds to be found through playing with strings. I mean, there's so many strings out there. So
I'll say this also before I forget. I have done a couple safe playing things. Rehearsal is a big session here, and not only do other musicians who know nothing really about bass comment on the way it looks, but it consistently gets high marks. Like, man, a lot of
Right.
And I
Didn't
yeah,
didn't expect that out of that tiny thing, kind of stuff. Yeah.
it looks small, like it almost
Yeah.
looks like a guitar to the very untrained eye.
Totally. Yeah.
Damn, that thing sounds huge. Or that, yeah,
Huge sound. Yeah.
more than a huge
That's
sound.
fun. Right on. Cool, man. Well, thanks for talking to me about that bass and your experience of it. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to bring up. I think we covered a pretty good amount of ground, but
No, except I say this: I have a student who got one, and he has a white pickguard, and I'm going to need to get a white pickguard off him.
all right, we could do that. I'm actually going to change mine. Shoot, I'll send you mine
What do you got?
because I got this one, and I'm
Oh,
gonna swap mine out.
there you go.
I could just take yours. We should get together and just swap them. Yeah, but cool, man. Well, I'm gonna end the recording here, but let's chat for a little bit longer if you don't mind. So, thanks, man.